While the Section 194 Committee chairperson, Qubudile Dyantyi, has accused suspended public protector, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, of sidetracking the inquiry into her possible impeachment.
Advocate Mkhwebane has until the end, well, next week, in fact, to answer a set of questions, a very long list of questions, in fact, from members of the inquiry into her fitness to hold office. Just last week, she missed 2 deadlines. She was due to notify the committee by Monday, the 19th of June, on whether she would respond to questions in writing or orally.
You're not going to be distracted. Next week we'll be speaking to you and indicating to you that this is the end of the deadline, whether I've received this or not received anything. As I'm still waiting today, they keep threatening about the recusal application. Still waiting for that recusal application to come to the committee and myself as the chairperson. We've issued directives, new directives. This is after on the 2nd of June, 7th of June and 9th of June when the committee discussed this and the committee then firmed it up that this is how we're going to conclude this process. And I issued amended directives that then she is saying are kind of illegal, flawed. The committee has it is in its own right to develop and process matters because the National Assembly does that. It's a constitutional obligation and a constitutional mandate that nobody can tell us how we need to do that. So she must stop sideshows, and I'm calling her to focus now on answering those very comprehensive questions by members and evidence leaders.
All right. Take a listen now to Dyantyi explaining the process that's going to follow after receiving Advocate Mkhwebane's responses.
The members as well as evidence leaders up to this point have adhered to our deadlines and the milestones that we have set. By Sunday we had received all questions from both of them, and on Monday the PEP had received all of those questions. We expect responses by next week, Wednesday the 6th of July. After that, all of those questions, responses will be collated, summation made, and we're going to be starting the very few next steps that will be outstanding as from next week, which is about drafting that report, having members deliberating on the issues, including the statements and every evidence that we have already in the committee. What she will give will be in addition to what she has sent to the committee, which is under oath, as sworn affidavits. We have that already. So after that, we're going to produce a draft report transparently in the manner we operate as committees. And once we do that, we're going to give her another opportunity to say to her, here is our draft report as a committee, any comment you want to make before we table it to the National Assembly. She's going to get that opportunity again.
Well, let's speak more about this with Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane herself. She's joining us tonight on News at Prime. A very good evening to you, Advocate Mkhwebane. Thank you for your time. So the Section 194 inquiry will, for all intents and purposes, move full steam ahead with its work. You are saying it would be wrong to do so. So is another court battle the only way to put an end to this back and forth?
Good evening to Megile and Newsroom listeners. I'd like to still clarify what you said in your opening statement, that I have missed 2 deadlines. There are no 2 deadlines I've missed. I think you've heard even Mr. Dyantyi saying I was requested to respond on the 19th of June, and I reject the statement he's making that I missed that deadline. I indicated when I appeared before the committee on the date, which was the 9th of June, and I rejected the proposal and those directives, which the flawed procedure which they have decided, or he has decided himself. And during that appearance, I requested him several times to recuse himself. It's so disheartening to hear him saying they are proceeding. It's my fault that I didn't respond. I have a letter where I wrote and responded on the 15th of June, where I still repeated I reject the proposal and I still request him to recuse himself voluntarily. So he's refusing to do that, and how can I submit an application when I don't have the legal representation? So it's so unreasonable for them to expect me to answer more than 1,000 written questions, where even including the members of the DA, ANC, Freedom Front, ACDP, and good parties. This is that means 9 out of the 14 parties represented in the committee elected not to participate in their physical exercise. So it's illegal in its sense. And I mean, that's what exactly the late Tina Jumaat-Peterson said 3 months ago, that Dyantyi will be doing this particular process.
With that in mind, then my question to you at the beginning stands, that is going to court again the only way to put an end to this? Because what is clear is that you and the committee are not going to find each other, at least not at this stage.
Yes, Tembekile, what we will do is that the state attorney failed to respond to the attorney which Mr. Chani, remember Mr. Chani was appointed, PPSA withdrew the mandate and reappointed him again. So the mandate which we requested from the state attorney, because I don't know what role they play, state attorney, which has said they are conflicted, is that we requested them to respond so that we give the council the brief to then lodge that application which Dyantyi is expecting. And then indeed we will lodge that application. Failure to grant or recuse himself, which we know that's what he's going to do, then go to court, because that's the only way I can exercise my right after the allegations of bribery and corruption. And I mean, it's the only way I can fight for this unlawful process, especially when somebody is facing such allegations, and even members of the DA, ANC, ACDP, IFP, and Good Party, they don't see anything wrong that this person is facing these allegations. And what's worse, let's say Dyantyi will say, because the police are investigating and there's a lot of evidence which they are uncovering, but this Tina Jumaat, the late, was the member of the committee. What does it say to them as committee members if something like this is happening? So indeed, I will lodge an application in the long run, but for now, the application will have to be lodged with him because that's what he insists on.
But can all of this be done by the 6th of July? That's your deadline next week to have responded to what you've already said is an unfair amount of questions to which you were now requested to respond to at this stage by next Thursday.
I issued a statement and indicated that, 1,000 questions, I'm expected to respond in 10 or 11 days. The members of the committee, yes, it's 50 pages. The evidence leaders, 119 pages. And they've done that possibly when they were doing that unlawful empowering of the committee. And I don't have, my senior counsel is not briefed, and it's not my fault for that not happening, because expecting my attorney as well to just go and brief counsel because counsel know the matter. Where have you seen that? Again, I said it. How do you expect a doctor to just go and operate and say this person needs to be operated when they haven't read the file of that particular? Where have you seen that? That's so unprofessional, and you can't expect attorneys to operate like that. Even the state attorney spoke, or the Mr. Chowe last time on the 9th, that, at the end of the day, there are professional and ethical considerations which needs to be taken into consideration. Therefore, how do I respond when I don't have legal representation? Again, it's contempt of the Constitutional Court judgment, because they need to assist me. Yes, I'm supposed to be answering, but they must assist me. There's no way I can write almost a Bible, responses which are even more than the pages of a Bible in 11 days.
So if you do end up having to go to court, Advocate Mkhwebane, to get the recusal of the chairperson, Richard Dyantyi, how would you fund that legal battle, considering that even for this phase of what's going on with Parliament, there's already been an issue with your legal funding? You've spoken, you say this, for example, in your note out today, that you have also unequivocally rejected the imposition on you personally of the obligation to pay legal fees, which may run into the millions, and if and when the arbitrary amount, you say, of 4 million rand is exhausted. So how would you fund the court battle?
You know, for the SC Mpofu, Advocate Matlape and Advocate Chabalala, they've taken a lot of matters pro bono, and the attorneys which we will be using are the ones which will be paid. The funding process is requesting members of the public out there to assist with the payment of my legal fees. And that's what I'm calling upon the public to help me, because I'm facing this challenge. I was trying to defend the public. I'm accused of things which are said to be I'm incompetent. When I investigated corruption, when now the very same members of parliament are extorting money from my husband, or allegedly extorting money from my husband, and I must just sit and be persecuted. So, and indeed, how do I agree with what he's saying, the PPS, Public Protector South Africa? They are saying when that money is exhausted, then I must fork out the money from my pocket. I mean, this process is a parliamentary process. I'm held to account by Parliament. Why must I pay from my pocket?
How much money would you say would be enough, Advocate Mkhwebane, for A, the process unfolding in Parliament, and B, what could potentially be a court challenge to try and force Dyantyi's recusal? How much do you think you'll need overall? How many millions?
You know, on the issue of the 4 million which was given when Tembekile, the fact of the matter is that I heard him saying, and he doesn't have anything to say or as well comment about the 4 million. The 4 million is the attorneys which will determine whether when they were still, because they still have to peruse the record, they'll still have to brief counsel. It's them who will decide how much is needed. But EPPSA, when they rush to say, when that money is exhausted, I must pay from my pocket, when they are the ones who have caused all this mess we are facing currently, you cannot expect the attorney to just be a stooge and just say counsel must. And where have you seen counsel having to brief? Because that's what he's saying. Counsel must assist the attorney. That's not what our legal profession expects. But if we must take again his refusal to recuse himself with Milham to the SCA, that appeal has been granted. And I mean, if we're speaking about resources to pay the attorneys to deal with the matter, not counting the counsels in the matter, the monies which will be dependent on what the attorneys will be charging might be up to 200,000. Unfortunately, what else?
200,000 rand. What is 200,000 a day?
For attorneys to take the matter, the previous recusal on appeal, because the Western Cape High Court, remember, they realized their error in law. They granted us the right to appeal ASCA for a recusal. No Milham. So this process, we will have to bring it back to Dyantyi, the one of alleged corruption and extortion. And as I'm saying to you, it's obvious his attitude. He will still refuse to recuse himself. We'll have to take it to court. Possibly the monies we will have to pay to the attorneys is around that figure. So not counting again, the money for the SCs in the matter. So we will have to decide what they are expecting.
Right, 250,000 rand for the attorneys alone. But as someone who's familiar with what these sort of lawyers, legal teams charge, how much might the whole process cost you? I'm asking that because there's been an appeal now, which I think you've shared as well on your social media, for crowdfunding, basically, for people to raise money. So how much is there a ballpark figure? Is there a target?
I don't have a target because I said it now that for the appeal, that's the estimation which came from the attorneys. I don't know how the SCs will be charging. And as well, we don't know what the SCA will be deciding because the matter might also end up a constitutional court. And again, doing this to expose this system which is hell-bent in, oppressing and persecuting me for what I don't know. But I think, again, it's for the precedents which they are setting in this particular matter.
In 30 seconds or less, Advocate Mkhwebane, because you and I are out of time, who will be looking over these monies? Who will be handling them to make sure that they go to where they're supposed to?
The attorneys will be handling the resources.
So it'll be paid straight to the attorneys?
Remember, the attorneys should be paying for all the logistics and everything. So the attorneys will have to handle all those legal resources. But the fact of the matter, Nathembekile, is that it's so sad that a country like ours, one is subjected to this persecution by members of parliament who are placed by the people in parliament. And you people of the media, you just fine with that. I mean, the way you are speaking to Dyantyi, I mean, it's so wrong. I mean, person who's facing corruption allegations, it's as if nothing has happened. You guys are the ones who are perpetuating all this.
Okay, I'm not sure if I can speak for the whole media, but I'd like to think that I've treated both of you fairly in any interaction that we may have had. But for now, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, grateful for your time. Thank you for speaking to us tonight. Here's